Started. This is a little bit about me. As I said, I'm excited to be here. My name is Sivan Purdue. I am a licensed clinical professional art therapist in Maryland and Delaware. I am a creative life engagement consultant for facilities. I'm a dementia coach for spouses, specifically women who are caring for their partners living with dementia. And then I'm also certified in dementia and sexual health. And sometimes when I tell people that I'm certified in dementia and sexual health, I kind of get an eyebrow raised because why is an art therapist doing sexual health education and advocacy? But it really comes down to quality of life. I am a huge advocate for living our life to the fullest, no matter what stage of life we are in, versus allowing our elders to kind of fade off like old photographs. So when I came across this after having worked in long-term care for over 8 years and then working with older adults for over 15 now, this seemed to be a natural fit and something that when I worked in long-term care facilities, nobody ever addressed. I remember situations coming up, but staff never knew what to do. So I think it's really important to normalize and talk about. So we today are going to talk about sexual health policies, what it is, and then 3 reasons that you should have one in your facility or your community. And again, if you have questions, please do not hesitate to pop in and ask. I'm happy to do so and answer them. So what is a sexual health policy? Well, for a facility, a sexual health policy is basically a statement of values and a set of guidelines, like any other type of policy that you might have in your organization or community, that informs the community regarding a resident's right to self-determination, right? So we have those lists of residents' rights that folks have when they're living in community organizations or supportive living places. And so this is one of them that isn't talked about as much, but is actually part of CMS guidelines and all of that. So it's important that we address this just as much as any other type of right that a resident may have. So I broke this down for the mission and goals of a sexual health policy. So a sexual health policy basically attends to 4 different aspects, right? It helps support residents in living their fullest life. It helps family members or legal guardians understand what rights are when a resident is admitted to or potentially admitted, right, into a care facility. It helps staff know what to do when a situation comes up. And it helps the administration of a facility help support the residents, the families, and their staff to make sure that we are taking care of everybody the best we can. The purpose of a sexual health policy is to be prepared, right? And to recognize the very human need that we all have to connect to one another and to be intimate with people. And when we talk about intimacy, when we talk about a sexual health policy, that is anywhere from patting and holding hands all the way to intercourse. And so it'll address the whole spectrum of being intimate with somebody, right? And with a sexual health policy, we are looking to protect our most vulnerable folks, right? Our residents, but it also lays out guidelines that help determine consent and capacity for being able to make decisions, as well as what to do when dilemmas and questions arise, which is important. So 3 reasons your community can benefit or needs, right, a sexual health policy. So the first one is, which cracks it, right, it's going to happen. It is people are going to pair off, people are going to be intimate, people are going to explore whether you are ready for it or not. So this is about being proactive versus reactive to these situations, because I'm sure for those of you who've worked in the community dealing with older adults, whether it's home health care walking into something or memory care units or long-term care, right? You have come across situations, right? You've seen stuff happen. And so we want to make sure that we normalize this behavior, right? And understand that it's part of our basic human needs to connect and be intimate with others. especially if someone is in a huge transitional time in their life. So I want you, let's just take moving into a memory care unit, right? If you take it from the perspective of the person being transitioned, admitted to the unit, that's huge and scary, right? So not only are they losing, right, moving out of a place that they know and are comfortable with, they have all the changes that are happening cognitively and emotionally. There might be some disorientation and some confusion, especially being moved out of a known environment. They don't know anybody that they're moving in with, right? And it's a whole new environment to try and acclimate to and figure out. That's scary, right? That's a lot of losses that have come and a lot to try to adapt to and figure out. And so if we think about our own experiences in huge transitional changing times of our lives, we usually want somebody with us, right? We usually have people that we lean into or connect with to help support us through this time. So it's completely normal for folks who are in that type of transition to seek out people to be with, right? To seek out folks to connect with, to help support them and to help them make or get more comfortable so that they can make the transition easier. So it's important for us to recognize that. And it also will help, the sexual health policy, right, will help us honor the rights and dignity and sexual autonomy of these residents, because they still have the right to be intimate, even when they have cognitive, I'm blanking out on words, decline or memory issues or things like that. And that goes back to, I'll talk in a minute about the capacity piece of it, which again goes back to protecting our residents to make sure that they're safe and nobody's being taken advantage of. So these are some stats for you from a study that was done, which I love sharing because it always shocks people, right? That 73% of older adults ages 57 to 64 are having sex. So are adults 65 to 74, and even 26% of adults 75 to 85 are engaging in sex. And so in our society, we tend to have this arbitrary cutoff number, right? And most people can't even say what that number is. But when we think of older adults, we think, oh, by a certain time, right? Maybe by the time they move into an assisted living or memory care or supportive, community place, or maybe even when they're aging in place at home, that they lose these physical needs and emotional, because a lot of it is an emotional component to it as we get older and we don't need to feel that connection anymore. When in reality, that is far from true. And that folks are having an intimate relations at the same frequency as 18 to 59-year-olds. So the next piece of why you need a sexual health policy for your community is protecting our residents, right? When we're in the elder care community, the elder care world, our top priority is caring for our clients, our residents, and keeping them safe. And so when the question arises as to whether a resident has the capacity in regards to sexual expression, there can be a lot of questions without clear answers. And this is where a policy can help us navigate through that. And when we talk about capacity, a lot of the time, capacity and consent get confused, right? Capacity is the clinical determination if people can make decisions. Consent is the legal determination to make decisions, but a sexual health policy will help with both of those. But a lot of the time we're talking about, especially if there is dementia involved, whether or not the person has the capacity to determine if to engage. And so again, the policy will help the facility navigate through that to make sure that the person can, or that we're, if they can't, how do we protect them and what the situation is, right? Going through those guidelines to help us figure out, no matter what situation comes up, how to make sure that everybody is safe, and to let family know what we're doing to make sure they're safe if they're concerned, right? And it's important to remember that behavior is a form of communication, and every behavior has a meaning. And so if we are seeing behaviors come up, whether it's pairing off and being intimate, or what we determine, right, undesirable behaviors, that we treat the underlying need that is bringing up that behavior versus just band-aiding it, right? So it doesn't help if someone's trying to be intimate with someone, obviously they're seeking something, right? So just separating people isn't going to help solve that need. We need to figure out how to meet that need for them in a way that is safe for them, as well as meeting their needs so that things go smoothly and that we're not just band-aiding stuff that's going on, which isn't addressing anything and can make the behaviors worse, right? And lead to a whole host of other issues that come down the pike with that. So here's just a quick list of risks and benefits to intimacy in long-term care communities, right? The risks can be complicated, right? None of this is necessarily straightforward, but the risks are risks to the resident, right? Risks to the institution, to the residents' families, and then also risks related to dementia disorders. And that's making sure that people have the capacity to make these decisions. But there's a lot of benefits of being intimate with others in these environments that outweigh these risks a lot of the time, right? It's shown to enhance general health and decrease pain, and shown to reduce depressive symptoms, which then can lead to other things, right? The importance of creating a sense of home and connection for these folks so that they can thrive instead of just waiting out their time and surviving it, right? That's what we are all here to do. We are all here to look after our older adults, to make sure that they are thriving in the last chapters of their life versus just waiting it out. And the last piece that I think is super important about having a sexual health policy and why facilities need them is empowering staff, right? There are frontline folks that often see what's going on first and are the ones to address it first. And so we need to make sure that they have the tools to feel confident to handle situations that come their way, right? It's important to normalize, right, and train staff on these behaviors and interactions and what they mean, and to normalize the intimate experience as part of our human experience, right? And meeting our very basic needs of food, water, safety, shelter, sex, right? That if we talk about Maslow's hierarchy, that is all part of the foundation of the pyramid. And so sometimes, right, that staff needs training to understand what is going on and why, but also to work through our own values and when we come into a facility oftentimes, or a job even, right, we bring our own values in, but it's helping staff understand that whether or not you think it's right, it is their right to do it, whether or not you would engage in that behavior or not. And so really helping staff understand that and learn how to separate that so that they can take care of residents and give the best care, but also give them the tools and interventions and structure, right, guidelines, so that they feel confident in giving that care and making decisions, so there's not fear of retaliation. We are all trying to retain staff as much as possible. That's a huge thing for a lot of organizations right now. And I think really giving staff the training and education they need to be successful is a huge part of that for job satisfaction and for retaining staff, which then creates better care, right? Because if staff is happy, residents are going to be taken better care of, and you're not dealing with the burnt out as much with that. And so that's a quick little rundown of 3 reasons why your facility or community can benefit from a sexual health policy and what that kind of might look like, and ways it can be used. Here's some info. If you would like to get in touch with me, I am happy to do so and answer questions. I would love if you said hey and hi and connected with me. You can see my email and my different social media links and my website, and I can go ahead in the chat and put a scheduling link if people want. If they want to go ahead and sign up for a time to chat with me, I am happy to do that, or we can send it out in the email, however you want to do it, Sarah. But yes, this is me, and I'm happy to answer any questions, Claudia, if you have one, or if anybody else popped on in the meantime.